Couple quick tips on self-employment and irregular income planning. This is something that I know I've had questions about and I've dialogued with people about in coaching consultations. And it's because if you're self-employed or if you have a contractor type relationship or an hourly even type of income, it's possible that you have an irregular income. Now you may kind of have a baseline. What I would suggest if you are self-employed is setting an income goal. So like number one, it is important to understand what are your bills, but set a goal. What do you want to make in the business? And then there's a proverb that I would encourage you to put to practice. Know the state of your flocks. Now, you may say, I don't know any animals. That's okay. The point is, have a dashboard of knowing what are your balances, what are your invoices, what's coming in, what's the savings in the business, what have you made, and what are you going to make. And we could talk about a whole lot of other things that I could do tips on in the future about retained earnings and planning and running a business without debt. And those are all principles that if we're going to live debt-free and seek to have financial health and a robust financial life for our private finances, it's just as important for our business. And that might kind of be a new idea, but you don't have to leverage the stress of debt and such for your business. You can run it the same way and grow at the speed of cash as you do your personal finances. But I would say keep that dashboard, even if it's a paper ledger, whether it's an app that you use that you plug stuff into and are able to see where things are, but take the time to check in for a few minutes, see where your goal is. Actually, there are times where I've been self-employed, and I'll be transparent for a minute. You kind of get discouraged because it's like, okay, this week I don't feel like I made my income goal or whatever, and you're not seeing the trickles if you're not taking the time to look at the state of your flocks. Where are you really? Are you a couple $100 away from your goal of your monthly income? Are you dramatically behind? Are you ahead? Checking in helps you to see reality, and then you can begin to make pivots and decisions based on that. Another thing in addition to keeping track is when you're irregularly planning your income, keep a list of activities or things you'd like to do. And so I'm doing this now in self-employment. I'm not saying something I haven't put into practice, but I'm going to use an illustration from the last business I ran, which is being self-employed and doing a lot of odd jobs and handyman work. For years I did that job, and it was a large portion of my income in self-employment. I was also doing some speaking and pastoring and stuff on the side as well. That was part of my income, but I was making the lion's share, or a good portion of my living was from doing the actual business, the self-employment of handyman work I was running. Now that was seasonal. And I set these things. I set income goals. I then began to set a savings goal. And another thing, taxes. You got to pay those when you're self-employed quarterly, most likely. So, talk to your CPA, have that type of a thing, and begin to have a plan for how you're going to do that. Take advantage of writing those business miles off if you are driving, education expenses, if you're getting training. But what I want to talk about with the handyman part is I was very strategic in the fact that even though I ran this business for years, I ran my business in a way in which I would have my customers, typically, especially new customers, buy materials and I would provide the labor. That protected me from really anything except my time and my gas to get there in the event, and I was doing smaller jobs, but in the event that for some reason somebody didn't pay. I only did the business in cash or check, which allowed me to have payment right away, and I didn't have to have delays in that. The other thing that I did is I grew the business at the speed of cash. So I borrowed equipment and I did my job, and I built the business with certain things that became kind of my signature advertising, like certain ways I would do my work. Part of that was because it was less expensive and higher quality. But the other reason was I was growing the business at the speed of cash. So could I have went out there and gotten a business loan and gotten equipment and done cheaper work and more of it? Yeah, but instead I grew the business at the speed of cash. I grew the business and bought equipment as I knew that this was a worthwhile investment in a particular piece of equipment. And I focused on the quality rather than the quantity of my work. It allowed me to begin to even scale my prices up for my current clients. And so it's a different way perhaps of thinking. I'll throw this last part out and then I'll end this short video. And these tips, of course, apply even if you're not self-employed. But I saw a really interesting point by a friend on social media, actually. And it was that boredom is a good thing. We work very hard to eliminate boredom from our life, but being bored is actually the place that some really good ideas come from. When you have margin in your business, when you're not running 24/7, when you have some time to quote unquote be bored and think, or to work on the business, or take a walk and think about and check in on the state of your flocks and see where stuff are at, that's when you begin to actually make ideas. Little diligence, some mental space, and some time to be bored, quote unquote, and think actually can help you not only improve your business operations, but your personal finance. If this was helpful to you, please drop me a note. Would love to know what particular part of this resonated with you. Thanks. God bless.